About this time last year, we sat and talked about scams. And I think we listed the top 10 scams at that time. What has changed in that year?
Probably the biggest development is that for, I would guess, 2 or 3 years running, the #1 scam that we heard about, government agencies heard about, was what's called the IRS imposter scam, that people would get a phone call from someone claiming to be with the IRS, saying they hadn't paid their taxes, and if they don't make arrangements to pay them immediately, sometimes using iTunes gift cards and other sorts of things. You'd like to think people would stop and ask why the IRS is asking me to pay using gift cards. But many people would fall for it, because I always get a little nervous when we hear the IRS is calling, even if we pay our taxes. That particular scam, after being #1 for several years, has dropped dramatically. Good news being that almost all of those calls originated from call centers in India. And about a year and a half ago, authorities in India and other law enforcement partners busted like 15 call centers. This was big business, 15 call centers where those calls were originating. And so all of a sudden, that particular scam has dropped. In a study we do every year, we determined that last year, across the Better Business Bureau system, the #1 scam was increased fraudulent items being sold on the internet, and people buying something and either not getting it at all, or getting what they get isn't what they thought they were going to get. It's counterfeit, or just poor quality.
You know, you talked about the IRS scam and someone claiming to be a government representative. Right. I mean, it's a fact that in cases like that, government representatives usually don't call you. Whether it's state, federal, local, I mean, you're not going to get a phone call from them saying, we're going to come arrest you unless you pay us.
That's right. You know, another one local going around, which we picks up every year, is people, in some cases, they're business people, restaurants in particular, are getting calls purportedly from MLG&W saying, you're behind on your bill, and if you don't pay immediately, we're going to shut your power off. And they sometimes target restaurants at lunchtime, at the busiest time of the year, because then people get a little panicky and say, well, I think I paid my bill, but maybe I better pay them again just in case, and we'll sort it out later. And again, MLG&W is not going to make that. They're going to try to collect from you, but they're not going to make that sort of a phone call.
Yeah, and they're probably not going to contact you via email either.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, scammers are equal opportunity con artists, of course, and they don't care who you are, how old you are, what gender you are. But scammers do target seniors. Why?
Yeah. They target seniors. I'll kind of dispel the notion a little bit that seniors fall more often, but they target seniors for a number of reasons. It depends on the type of scam, but for example, if they're home improvement scams, somebody knocking on the door, they're home to answer the phone, to answer the door, or they're there to answer the phone. Seniors grew up at a time when you didn't have to worry that somebody knocking on the door or on the phone call or trying to communicate with you in some other way was a scammer. They're more trusting. And many seniors are really kind of both ends of the scale. They may have a fair amount of money and assets, and so their crooks are hitting them with investment scams to try to steal their money. Or they may be living on a fixed income and trying to get better returns on their savings, or trying to get deals on prescription drugs and health care costs.
Or trying to win that sweepstakes.
Or they're trying to get a windfall to help out with financial problems.
Yeah. And also, I would think that at that age group, you get probably a reasonable number of Social Security, Medicare scams as well.
Yeah. We were talking earlier, sometime this year or next, Medicare is replacing Medicare cards. And so people will be getting new cards. And we anticipate that the crooks will try to take advantage of that. One of the things they always do is they take advantage of the headlines, and if there's a natural disaster, you'll see charitable scams. If there's the government's changing Medicare rules or regs or cards, people will start getting calls purporting to be from Medicare saying, I need to send you your new card, it's going to have new benefits, it's a wonderful thing, I just need to verify you are who you are, give me your Social Security number. Medicare does not need your Social Security number.
Nor are they going to ask you to pay for a card that's free.
Correct.
Yes,
that's correct.
All right. In that context, how do crooks exploit consumers? How do they push their buttons? What hot buttons do they hit?
Well, it can start with the list. Sometimes they buy lists, and if they've got a scam that's that they think will be particularly effective against seniors, and they'll buy lists of seniors. But even then, they tend to exploit people, or studies have shown that people are more vulnerable to a scam if they've experienced a negative life situation, the loss of a loved one, a divorce, they've lost their job, or they're heavily in debt. The crooks play on people's emotions. One of the things I say very often is that the crooks depend on people's emotions outstripping their common sense. It's a very common scam that seniors are targeted with, and most don't fall for it, but just enough do to keep the crooks coming back, or what we call the grandparent scam, where they get a call saying that purportedly from a grandchild, saying I'm in trouble, or maybe an attorney or law enforcement official calling on behalf of the grandchild saying I'm in trouble and you need to wire money to get me out of trouble, and please don't tell mom and dad. Again, most people know better, but there are people who have lost tens of thousands of dollars to that scam. So they play on people's emotions.
Now, a lot of scams, of course, are perpetrated online. What kind of online behaviors that we may have make us susceptible to a scam?
Folks who click on pop-up ads.
Don't ever click on
Don't click on pop-up ads. People who click on headlines. You know, McAfee, which is a security company, puts out an annual list of the most dangerous cyber celebrities. It's not that celebrities are dangerous themselves, not sure that's always the case, but what's dangerous is that people who are searching on these celebrities' names, or they may be on an entirely different website and they see some headline that says, see the latest news on such and such, and you click on it, and malware is downloaded to your computer, and then you have all sorts of problems. They steal your identity, your passwords, that sort of thing.
You know, just recently, I got emails from people that I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like it was from them, but the only thing in the email was a link to click on, which I did not, because my common sense told me better. But crooks disguise it so well these days.
A more common form of that particular scam, or you get a email or a text message purportedly from a friend who's in trouble, stranded overseas, got robbed, the passport was robbed, can you help me send some money? And again, people who respond to those, and then studies have shown that unfortunately there's just a fair number of people out there who think that banks do send you messages saying there's a problem with your account, tell us your PIN number, tell us your password so we can help protect you. Well, again, IRS doesn't need your Social Security number, the bank doesn't need your PIN number.
We were talking about the emails that I got purported to be from someone that I knew. That also happens with a telephone. Telephone scammers can now disguise that phone, the phone number readout that you get on your phone ID.
The general technology, been around for a bunch of years, is called spoofing, where they can make any number appear on your caller ID, whether it's a landline,
even your own number, right?
Even your own. People have said they've gotten phone calls that looks like their own number. But spoofing in general, they fake the number, even though the caller in many cases, in most cases probably, it could be overseas. But over time, more and more people have gotten jaded and accustomed and decided I'm not going to answer a phone call from a number I don't recognize, which is a good piece of advice. And so now what the crooks do, they've taken spoofing to the next level, which is called neighbor spoofing. And that's where when you look at the phone number, the area code and the first 3 digits match yours. And so again, sometimes really gets you curious. the whole thing matches, but generally the first the area code, first 3 digits match. And studies have shown that people are just more likely to answer a phone call that looks local. They think it could be a doctor's office, could be a child's office, and of course the crooks can't work their magic. I don't say that with any affection. They can't work their scam on you if you don't answer the phone. So that's a technique just to get you to answer the telephone.
And get you to answer the phone, and then you have to use your good common sense as you listen to their
you know,
spiel.
for years we've told people, generally those, the message, whatever they're peddling, it could be an extended auto warranty, a medical alert system to seniors, some sort of health care, a home security system. Many of the messages say, press 1 to hear the wonderful offer, press 2 to be taken off our list. And we've just told folks for years, don't press 2. That confirms at least that they have a good number, and you'll start getting more phone calls. I read just recently that really the advice has become even more, don't answer the phone, because just answering it tells them that they've got a good number. So many of these calls are dialed randomly by what are called auto dialers, and just by answering the phone, in particular by pressing any number, says, this is a good number, and you'll start getting even more phone calls, not fewer.
Data breaches are a real problem these days, and it's a growing problem. What can people do to protect themselves against data breaches?
Not much you can do, unfortunately, to protect yourself from the breach itself. An outfit called the Identity Theft Resource Center tracks these things. And in 2017, they tracked 1,579 data breaches. That was a 45% increase over the prior year. Some of that is because of increased reporting, but much of it is because crooks are just hacking into more and more databases. The most prominent one last year being Equifax, that the credit reporting agency that really about 143 million people, about half of the people in the country were victimized. So very little, I mean, we're in databases we don't even know about. It's so hard to protect yourself going in. But if you're notified that your information has been compromised in the data breach, take it seriously. Follow the instructions of the company that's notifying you. If a credit card or bank account information was compromised, let the issuer or let the bank know immediately. Generally, and particularly the more serious cases, the company will offer free credit monitoring for a period of time. Take advantage of that. Might even want to put a credit freeze on your account so that crooks can't try to open up an account in your name, because the lender won't be able to get your credit report. If they can't get a credit report, they're not going to issue the credit. Now that can be a bit of a hassle if you're applying for credit on your own, so you've got to make that decision. And then as soon as you get your statements, credit card, bank account, look at them. Even if you're not going to pay the bill or balance the checkbook for a week or till the weekend or for a week or so, look at it immediately, and if there's any issues, any problems, let the bank or let the card issuer know immediately.
Well, tell me, are the places that offer to protect your identity, can they do the job? Do they work?
Some do, some don't. Like any product provider, some oversell their services. What you need to understand is they cannot completely, absolutely protect you from having your identity compromised. And any of them that suggest they can, walk away. What they generally do is, if your information has been compromised, they may be able to detect it for you. They're monitoring your credit report. They're monitoring other databases. And then if you do have a problem, they can help run interference for you with the credit bureaus, with law enforcement, with your credit card issuer or banks. It's really it's insurance. I mean, you can do it yourself if you run into a problem. Or it might be nice to have some sort of a backup. You can go to, the FTC has a website called identitytheft.gov, where you can go and it'll walk you through the whole process yourself. And it gives you instructions of what to do. It has sample letters to send to credit bureaus. So it's an individual decision on these identity theft protection services. Just be sure you understand what they can and can't do.
Well, last question. We all know that there are thousands, maybe millions of scammers and crooks out there trying to separate us from our money. What's your best advice? Everybody's at risk. There's a common misperception that it's mostly seniors, and in fact, a Better Business Bureau study that we did a couple of years ago found that everyone is at risk, and in fact, younger people are more likely to fall for a scam than seniors. They don't lose as much money. When a senior falls, they're less susceptible, but when they fall victim, they lose more money. So first, recognize that everybody is at risk. Don't respond to unsolicited emails, text messages, phone calls. If you're asked to send money, to win a prize, to help out a grandchild in trouble in an urgent situation, particularly if you're asked to wire it, which you always are. You're either asked to wire it or, again, these days, asked to pay with gift cards. Even now they're moving to Bitcoin, which is a cryptocurrency. It's a scam.
slow down. Protect your information online. Good idea to use strong passwords. A study that was done found that the most common password every year, year in and year out, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The second most common is password. Have strong passwords. And then just kind of when it comes to online purchases, online offers, free trial offers, you need to read the fine print. You need to, the old advice is always good advice. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
A little bit of healthy skepticism can go a long way to protecting.
And unfortunately, more and more these days than years ago.
Well, thanks for being on The Best Times and helping us protect ourselves against scams. If you have been a victim of a scam, contact your local Better Business Bureau. Their Scam Tracker tool shows you the most prevalent scams in your area and provides a link to report a scam.